So the DVSA have changed driving tests. This has happened. If you've got a driving test coming up, this affects you. I wasn't gonna make a video about it because none of these changes really benefit you. They're all to benefit the DVSA. But loads of you have been talking about it in my comment section. So if you missed it, here's what the changes are, here's what they mean, here's my opinion. Let's go. In total, there's 3 changes. Here's the first one. We're reducing the number of stops during the driving test from 4 to 3. We're reducing the number of stops during the driving test from 4 to 3. This one's quite random. It has a really negligible impact. If you didn't know, on your driving test, the examiner will ask you to pull over on the left and then just ask you to drive on again. Pull up on the left, secure the car, now drive on again. Okay, prepare, observe, move. 4 stops on a driving test used to be mandatory. Now you only have to do it 3 times. Whenever the examiner asks you to pull up on the left and then drive on again, it feels so random. It feels like you've done something wrong. It feels like they're over-checking you. So from a nerves and anxiety perspective, this might be like 1% good. But really, this change is so small. If you weren't aware, there had to be 4 stops and now there are only 3. Unless you were counting while you were going around your driving test, you wouldn't feel any difference. The government say these changes were designed to improve the overall flow of the test. I guess if you have to keep stopping off, like your test doesn't get flowing, especially if you're in an area where there's nowhere to stop off and then you do a few back streets where you can stop off and you have to do all 4 of your mandatory stops in like the space of 5 minutes. That feels really random and completely destroys like your headspace and your flow. But the real bonus to this, for the DVSA, not for you necessarily, is that if they stop you less, that takes up less test time and they can take you to slightly further away areas. Maybe there's some more interesting stuff that they can't usually reach because of the other constraints and requirements of a driving test. Now you can go to the seaside, maybe. If you've got any opinions on that one, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Let me know in the comments. Is this gonna change the test for you? I doubt it. Change number 2, this one feels way more random. Like when they took 3-point turn off the driving test. If you take it off the driving test, loads of instructors aren't gonna teach it. Actually, let me know in the comments, did you get taught 3-point turn before your driving test? Because 100% of everybody who took a driving test before that change got taught a 3-point turn, and you need it loads, which is just a shame. Let me know in the comments, did you get taught 3-point turn before your driving test? And if you've passed now, how did you get on since passing without knowing how to do a 3-point turn? I mean, I know it's not hard, but still, I can imagine you had to get stuck down a dead-end road a couple of times before it made sense and you made it stick. Anyway, here's the change number 2. Lowering the frequency of emergency stop exercises from 1 in 3 tests to 1 in 7. Only 1 in 3 driving tests get an emergency stop, but you know, because it's so common, 1 in 3 is bloody common, 1/3 of all driving tests. But because you know it's so common, you're gonna bloody practice it. And that's 1 in 7. If you're tight on timer, you're gonna just skip it. I know what they were thinking with this one. Again, it takes ages to do an emergency stop. It wastes so much time. You've got to pull over, you've got to give the whole emergency stop brief, then you've got to go off on the emergency stop, then you've got to stop, then the person faffs about with gears and observation and then drives on really nervous and probably a bit slow and shaken after doing that yeeting through the window business. But is it a good idea to make emergency stops almost non-existent so that we can save a few minutes on a test to get further down the road where we couldn't get before? Dunno, what do you think? Oh, actually, before I move on to the 3rd change, someone actually did make a really good point about this emergency stop change in the comments. Back when emergency stops were introduced onto the driving test, cars weren't very good. They didn't have ABS, they didn't have loads of safety features, brakes weren't as good, tires weren't as good, and you had to demonstrate a technique called cadence braking to make your emergency stop safe. Now you don't have to do any of that. You brake as hard as possible and the car works out the rest. So are emergency stops a thing of the past anyway? Hiya, can I move to the front and give you some space?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, change number 3, we're adding flexibility to the independent driving segment. This can be following a sat-nav, traffic signs, or both to run for the full duration of the test. This one I think might cause some problems. When you first start learning to drive, there's no way that you'll be following a sat-nav or following road signs. The instructor will tell you to turn left or right, a bit like the examiner used to, for 10 minutes. Sat-nav or independent driving used to be 20 minutes of a driving test. Now, they're saying it's going to be the full thing. The reason I think this is going to cause problems is the amount of mock tests I've done with a whole host of different people. There's over 100 videos in the mock test playlist, and quite a lot of them have never been trained to use a sat-nav, especially not the TomTom system that the examiners use. Maybe it'll be a good thing though. Maybe following a sat-nav for the entire duration of your driving test will encourage more instructors to get a sat-nav and even more instructors to get the system that they use on a driving test, which is the TomTom system. Quick snap poll, because my mock test playlist probably isn't representative of everybody who's done driving driving lessons in the last year. So let me know in the comments, did your instructor, yes, use a sat-nav, no, not use a sat-nav? And if they did use a sat-nav, what system did they use? Google Maps, Waze, TomTom, or something else? I started off the video by saying none of these changes really benefit you. They mainly benefit the DVSA, and I stand by that, especially with this third change. What the government said about this one is it's giving learners more time to demonstrate their ability to follow directions independently, just like they would after passing their test. We already had that. It was already 20 minutes of a driving test following a sat-nav. But now what we've done is we've taken away the ability to test someone on how well they take directions from another human and how they take directions from a sat-nav and road signs. Now we've only got sat-nav or road signs. I can think of loads of real world times I've had to take directions from another human sitting next to me. Like I said, none of these benefit you. They all benefit the DVSA. Was this even worth it? Are they wasting time and money fixing things that don't matter when all we want is to be able to book a driving test? Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, peace, bye.